specific piece of legislation that's on the floor that they can point at, I think the Republicans answer to that is, well, it's just Medicare, that's what they do. And I have to say, you delineated an important difference, and that's Medicaid, which is for poor people, and Medicare, which is for everybody. And there's a great belief among a lot of people that Medicaid goes to undeserving people. Now, we know that in Arkansas, a lot of that Medicaid goes to people in nursing homes, and that's a whole different thing. And so I do think there's room to work on it. But just there was a fascinating interview in the Daily Caller, which is a right-wing publication this week, in which it was about a woman, a conservative woman, who went to a liberal protest meeting. And at first, she said, well, God, they're talking about improving education and making sure sick people have health care coverage. And then she said, I realized, but we might have to pay for that. This poor mother having a child with cancer, but why should I have to pay for that? And so, I mean, remember, there are a lot of people out there that might surprise you with how they view the idea of helping older, sick people get through their last days. And it wouldn't be pretty. In the back.
Mr. Brantley, first of all, thank you so much for publishing that press release here in the first one we did.
Oh, sure. Good.
Piggybacking off of that, our governor did sort of commission through some surgery that was where he explained his financial decisions, his budget decisions, and one of them was to prioritize our home health in Arkansas. And would you say that when those voters, those people that you speak of, when confronted with professional health care for all, they ask for something to pay for it, are they just need a little more context and a little more being presented with like human examples such as myself, for instance, or should we just say thank you for your time and move on to the next one?
I don't think you can persuade anybody who doesn't want to pay their tax money to help other people. They just believe that. And there are an enormous number of them. Have y'all ever had the misfortune of talking to Brian King, the Republican senator? Up in this part. He's a guy, I will admit, he's an interesting guy. And actually, some of the things he did in the Senate, calling out Medicaid abuses by these agencies, was correct. And he was a bully in legislative audit, but some of the people he went after deserved to have been gone after. And I've been talking to, he's been calling me this week, basically saying, see, I told you so, which is fine. But he's just one of these guys who just doesn't want to spend government money on medical services because he thinks nothing but corruption comes of it. And I think there's a lot of that out there. I think the best thing we can do is what we've done in the immigration crisis, which was illustrate wherever possible. It's not about bureaucracy. It's not about DHS or home health aid. It's about people. It's about the people on the receiving end of it. This thing where the state came in and said, we're going to have a computer algorithm determine how many hours of care a disabled person needs versus a human being was crazy. We've got a work requirement for Medicaid that says people in the worst computerized state in the country got to sign up by computer. It's nuts. It's crazy. And so I think trying to talk rationally to people who think these are good ideas is mostly a waste of time. I think we just have to illustrate real impact on real people and hope that moves. I don't think people as a whole are bad. I think most people do have hearts, and not Dick Cheney, but most people. And you can reach them with personal stories, I think. Have I done them in? Oh, there's some.
When you say that it's not an issue, like I come from it at a different perspective, because most conservatives I know are talking about Medicare for all or universal health care. They talk about, oh, it's going to cost more money, all this stuff. But if you actually look at the facts, we're spending $49 trillion over a decade right now on our current health care system. We
Today it hadn't worked. I mean, Ernie Oakley, an old friend of mine, a political pollster, I think 16 years ago, he introduced me to the numbers from Physicians for Single Payer that said if you took all the money we're putting into the system through Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, uninsured, uncompensated care, if you put it all together, we could insure everybody for less. I absolutely accept that as an article of faith, except we've got some specialists who might have to make less money, and they're a pretty powerful lobbyists, some of these guys. But I agree with you, but I think, and you can say those things, but the other side is going to take you down into the thicket of yeah, but there's this hidey hole and that hidey hole. I just think, I just despair of voters being able to have an informed, rational argument on healthcare policy. But Medicare for all, because Medicare today is pretty popular, and I don't think people want it taken away from them. I think that has a certain ring. I think there's some room there for that, and not bother to get into a big discussion about it and say, Medicare works for your granny, doesn't it? So why not everybody? What's wrong with that? I mean, I think there is some room there, but I say that I don't think the debate helps much. Yeah.
I have a question. It's a different topic, but I teach at the Springfield Public School District, and the legislature passed a law, of course, that if we get a gift of a poster that says "In God We Trust," by law, put it on my classroom wall, which I think is nuts. I'm expecting to get a gift in the game. In that vein, what is the craziest law that the legislature's passed since you've been a journalist? And
I don't know. There have been so many mean laws. The meanest was the law that was struck down in court that said gay people couldn't adopt to the state. That was the meanest, I think. But it's been matched since in several respects. Now, there was a great piece of legislation sponsored by somebody who proposed drawing and quartering for public execution in War Memorial Stadium. And that had a certain genius about it. You could ask Steve Smith about that. And keeping bear arms. What was it? Anyway, old story anyway. Yeah?
I'm curious about why there's not more conversation about Arkansas being such an agricultural state with all the tariffs that are being done and people railing about socialist things, and yet they're trying to pass billions of dollars to cover.
Well, I was happy to see there were some Republicans today who said, you know, this really kind of runs counter our philosophy to give handouts to people in the form of $12 billion. But we've been down this road before. You remember we had a senator who was chair of the Senate Agriculture Committee who everybody, the Democrats said, well, surely that'll be good as gold for her in her re-election campaign. She got clobbered. Well, I think you have to remember, and this isn't entirely true, and there's some mighty fine small family farmers out there, but agriculture is primarily a huge corporate business. And it's controlled by a relatively small handful of very big operators, and it's a corporate thing. I mean, the reason there's nobody living in the Delta anymore is they don't need very many people to farm 10,000 acres. And so when you're talking about business, you might as well be talking about steel manufacturing. It's talking about farming. And farmers are pretty good if you cover them, whether through crop insurance or special payments in bad years and stuff, that they'll forgive a lot for you. And these are guys in Arkansas that seem, with a few exceptions, seem to like Donald Trump. But it's nuts. I mean, it's another nuts thing that he could create the need for this payment by an ill-advised tariff policy that the taxpayers borrow money from China bondholders to pay off. It's crazy. But there's a lot of craziness out there.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for your service. What you and other journalists do right now is more important than ever before. So my question is, now that we get to
Well, I think I'd say take a lesson from the Russians and use social media to the biggest extent you possibly can. It certainly worked for them, and I think to a degree it'll work for you. You're right about gatekeepers, and a lot of what happens today on the web is learning by trial and error who you can depend on and who you can't. This is a pretty good time for me to mention my own terrible situation, which is working for a newspaper. The journalism industry over the last 10 years has lost 49% of its jobs. The gross advertising in newspapers over the last 25 years has dropped every single year for 25 years, and there's no sign that that's going to stop. Google, Amazon, and Facebook have simply taken all the money away that Craigslist hadn't already taken away. There's really no solution for it. The new tariffs on newsprint, if they take effect next month, somebody has written could be a black swan event. It could be the end of a number of newspapers that are now just surviving barely on the margins. I don't really know where we're heading. I worked for an institution that frankly barely survives every year. We're trying now to essentially raise money through philanthropy. We've put up a paywall on my blog and solicit subscribers, and whether it's worth it to people or not, that's for them to decide. But we make an open pitch that part of it is to keep alive our kind of journalism, our outlook in Arkansas, because there's not much left. I was telling somebody earlier, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, which is the dominant medium in the state, does better than a lot of newspapers in a lot of states do. It employs more people and has more pages. I think it reflects the philosophy of its owner, which is not unusual for a newspaper. But over the last 10 years, it once had a 250-person newsroom between the two newspapers in Little Rock and Northwest Arkansas. It's now down to about 100. They've lost 150 jobs, 150 jobs. So they're suffering as well. Now, he's got some money to fall back on. Don't cry for Walter Hudson; he'll be all right. But the problem is everywhere, and I'm not sure where it ends. I think what has popped up. There are a lot of, and I don't know much about the scene up here. You've got some alternative news sources that are pretty good, and some people are just doing it for free. They're setting up. It's kind of like their hobby is to be providers of civic information, and in time, some of them will prove to be trustworthy and some won't. All you can do is contribute to the conversation. I think Facebook pages are great things. I think the Women of Democrats in Washington County and Pantsuit Nation and all the various things that have popped up to try and get messages out, that's all we've got. It's kind of all part of the resistance. And I just say, keep at it. Had enough?
Thank you so much, Max. I think we can take away a few things. Resist often, vote early, and be nice. When it comes to voting early and often, October 7th is the last day to register people to vote. So please get out there and continue to register people to vote. October 22nd, early voting starts, and November 6th is Election Day. But we want to make sure that everybody gets to the polls. So please make a buddy system, bring your friends, take people. If people need rides, let somebody know, let one of us know, and we'll help get people to the polls. We do have a few pieces of business to go through, no more than 10 minutes. New business and overall announcements. There is a survey going around, or not a survey, a petition, thank you, that was passed around. It's currently in the back, but we'll keep passing it around. It's about immigration reform. It was passed around at our program last month, and if you would like to sign it, if you didn't do it last month, please find it either floating around or it'll be on the table in the back. We also have information on the tables on the table in the back about a upcoming scholarship opportunity for young men and women going into college, produced by Fannie Mae Foundation, and it will be available on the back table if you know anybody that would like to apply for a scholarship for school next year. So when it comes to supporting our candidates, we talked about volunteering, and we're all gonna get out and volunteer, right? Yes. Resounding yes. In some way, we're gonna get out and volunteer, whether that's just talking to a neighbor about a campaign or about a candidate specifically. Take a chance to get to know the candidates. They're here, they're real, they're people just like us, they're nervous. Some of them are doing this for the first time, some of them are old pros, but we are all in this together, so get to know the candidates so that you can talk on their behalf, because politics is real, the people are real, and the circumstances are very, very real. So we need to get out there and help everybody succeed, because we are all part of this blue wave. Like we've always said, campaigning is not cheap, nor is it easy. So one of the pieces of advice that many of our candidates thrive on is ABC, always be campaigning. So we can help kind of elevate that message by taking some cards and distributing for them, because again, they can't be everywhere that we can all be. So we do have power in number. Get some yard signs, put them in your yard and let people know who you're voting for. Politics is not as private as it used to be. We can't be private anymore about that. We've got to stand up and tell people what we believe in and why. Going back to resist often, vote early and be nice, but be factual. Time, treasure, and talking to people, talking to everyone, and talking to them again and again. That's important. Having those conversations and making it, getting to a personal level about politics and about the people running. A couple of upcoming opportunities to volunteer at Bayville Farmers Market every Saturday morning. The candidates have a table. We have had a really good turnout from our executive committee every single week to get out and register voters, as well as talk to people just strolling through the market. Bayville Farmers Market's a pretty safe place, so you're going to get a friendly face all the time. And it's a good place to go ahead and get out there and practice before you do get outside of the confines of a very blue square. But it's a good way to start talking about people, kind of get your hopes up and your practice in. Get on their email lists, get on candidates' email lists and their Facebook pages. Ask them what they need. Again, some of them are brand new to this, just like we're all brand new to this, possibly. So we're all here, again, we're all in it together. A couple of follow-ups from our last meeting. We did mention that the Benton and Washington County Sheriff's Office will co-host a public forum on ICE and 287G. I don't believe we have a date on that yet. We'll continue to keep you posted. It's anticipated to be in August. Again, that's that annual meeting or biannual meeting where they theoretically take public forum for the 287 ICE practice. So if you would like to go and be heard about what we feel as Democrats and just as human beings about how our sheriff is currently handling that, I would encourage you to go. Do please fill out a membership form if you're so inclined. We talked about that earlier. As per our bylaws, we do have our own elections coming up for our leadership team. It'll be in September. We have a nominating committee. We are currently seeking a programming VP. So if you would like to follow in the footsteps of Peggy and help plan for and coordinate and organize all of our programs, please, we would love for you to volunteer for that opportunity. It's a year-long position and you get to hang out with us every month. It's awesome. Meeting sponsorships, again, thank you to Cindy Barson and Eventfully Yours. So for all of your entertaining needs, there's Cindy and Eventfully Yours. So we do appreciate the sponsorships of meetings. It helps offset our costs for Mermaids, which we do get at a stellar deal. Mermaids does an awesome job helping us make sure that we don't have to come in and set up chairs and that sort of thing. They do all that for us. They always do a great either buffet or table service, and the bar is really good. So let's give them a round of applause to Mermaids. Thank you. Upcoming meetings, August 20th is the county committee meeting. August 21st is senior Dems. Georgia? Yes, is there a topic you want? Candidates focus on the August 21st senior Dems at Western Sizzlin in Springdale, 11:30 and 11:30 social and 12 meeting. August 28th, we'll have the County 5 here on the stage. So that's Adrian Cabello for Circuit Clerk, Emily Sledge for County Clerk, Jim House for County Judge, Zane Chenault for County Treasurer, and William Chesser for Assessor. It rhymes. And then September 25th, just to review, we'll have reproductive rights with Dr. Lisa Corrigan. And October 23rd, we'll have a pep rally with Star Haas and Nicole Clowney. Again, early voting begins on October 22nd, the day before our October meeting. November 6th is Election Day, and the county committee is trying to put together plans for a watch party. So just Josh Murphy, who's the events chair for the Central Committee, asked to do a quick show of hands. Who would go to a watch party at like the town center? Oh, good. All right. Roughly half. So there's plans coming around for that to possibly have a collective watch party at probably the town center, because we struck a deal with them through Dems Rock. So we can watch all of our candidates win, ethically, of course. And I heard Denise walked in. Denise, you want to say a few words?
I'm just so sorry I'm late. All the candidates are doing such a good job out there and about, and there's so many different events to be at, and thank you for being supportive and understanding when we can't be here right on time. But most of you know I am Denise Garner. I am running for the Arkansas House of Representatives for District 84. And I'm having a ball, y'all, and it is so much fun, and it's fun because you guys are making it fun, and I can't thank you enough for knocking doors with me and making phone calls with me and doing all the things that it's going to take to get every one of us elected. We're not going to have near the money that our Republican counterparts have. And so we are back to retail politics, and it is so much fun. It is great fun. So we're trying to do phone calling in the heat of the day and knocking on doors when it's a little bit cooler. But I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you guys enough, the organizers of the executive groups with Washington County and with Democratic Women and with the other groups that have helped us so much. But I thank you guys, and I'm sorry I wasn't here for the introductions earlier.
Thank you. So like Denise said, we love when the candidates are here, but we are a captive audience. So we will be voting for all of our candidates. So we know that they have to be out in the county, in the city, in the state, or throughout their district campaigning. So we are totally okay when they're not here. We love when they're here though, so either way. Again, we do have our fabulous t-shirts up here. If you, we are running low on sizes, and we are placing a reorder based on desired sizes, so we'll have them at the next event, or I can get them to you earlier if needed. Again, please do follow us on social media, because we try to post links to campaigns and to information and volunteer opportunities as well. So we're on Facebook and Instagram and on Twitter. A lot of those are repeat posts, so you only really need to follow one format. And if you need help setting up a social media account to get information or to get connected, I'm happy to help you do that anytime. One special addition to our announcements, I want to do a special send-off to our youngest member, Maggie Benson. She is headed off to school in a few days at Arkansas Math and Science down in Hot Springs. We know she'll continue to do really awesome work and continue her activist spirit and get involved down there. And if there's not a way to get involved, we know she'll start one. And we'll see her back here at Christmas. So big round of applause for our youngest member, Maggie. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all the work you're doing to get young people out and understanding what's going on around them. Any questions about business? Okay. If not, we will officially adjourn. Thank you for being here.